I am finally doing the Pokemon Crystal shiny breeding video without using a Shiny Ditto that you have all been asking for. It's been well over a year, but today we're going to answer three things. Number one, should I shiny hunt in Crystal as opposed to other games because the odds are, quote, so good? Number two, do I need a Shiny Ditto? And number three, how do I do it? And I'm going to answer all three of those questions today, starting with number one. Should you breed in Pokemon Crystal? Because you've seen probably on the internet that the odds are 1 in 64, which is a bit of a misconception. We're going to clear that up. And the answer is no, probably not. If you want to breed something like a shiny Stantler, you're probably better off going to Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon with the Masuda method and the Shiny Charm, even though your odds are 1 in 512 with those two things, the Shiny Charm and the Masuda method. It's probably overall going to be faster. Or if the Pokemon exists in Sword and Shield, like Scyther or Miltank, you're probably going to want to do it there because, again, it's going to be faster even though your odds are 1 in 512. Now, there's a lot of misconceptions of breeding in Crystal being 1 in 64. That is true in two instances. Number one is if you have a Shiny Ditto. And everywhere I looked on YouTube, most videos out there specifically show how to breed in Crystal using a Shiny Ditto, which they probably got either through manipulations or glitches. They didn't actually find the Shiny Ditto in the wild. They either imported it from Gen 1. And if you want to do that, that's cool. There's tons of videos out there, but there's really not any videos that I found of breeding without a Ditto, which is completely possible, which I'm going to show you today. I have a Twitch VOD that is probably playing right now in the background of me hatching Shiny Stantler. So even though you're reading 1 in 64, the odds are actually 1 in 128. The reason being is, boy, this is going to be hopefully I can sum this video up. I made some handy graphics. The reason being is because Ditto doesn't have a gender, and the DVs that existed, IVs didn't exist in Gen 2. The determination values have to be passed down, and because Ditto is genderless, it doesn't matter really how it's passing down, as opposed to using either a male or a female Pokemon. So realistically, without a Ditto, your chances are 1 in 128, which sounds better than Sword and Shield or Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, which is 1 in 512. But there is no flame body in this game. There is no oval charm. And the egg cycle in this game, for example, with Stantler that we're doing today, is about 18 minutes to hatch per egg. Now in Sword and Shield or Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, I can hatch about 5 eggs in less than 2 minutes. But in Pokemon Crystal, it takes about 18 minutes, and there's probably a point where my YouTube editor will show me setting a timer of how long it takes that we can compare it to. So overall, should you breed in Crystal? To answer that first question, probably not, unless you like to play in older games, you just want to try it, you want to have fun. I will say that all the Pokemon that you do breed, when you move them up into Pokemon Bank or Pokemon Home, they will have the hidden ability, although Sword and Shield has made it relatively easy to get hidden ability with the ability capsule, or the, I think it's like the rare ability capsule that they introduced in the Crown Tundra. Question 2, do I need a Shiny Ditto? No, you do not. The only thing you probably actually need to get started is the Shiny Gyarados that you get in the game. That Shiny Gyarados is always going to be male, and it is going to be our starting point for breeding Stantler in this instance, and I will show you how to breed a more complicated Pokemon other than Stantler. I do want to mention that if you were breeding a Pokemon in the situation of Stantler, you could replace it with Miltank. So here, let me show you our flow chart here. We are going to get the Shiny Gyarados from the Lake of Rage. It is going to be male. It is in the Water Egg group and the Dragon Egg group, meaning it can breed with Water Pokemon in Water 2 and Dragon Pokemon. We're going to go catch a female Ekans and Ekans is in the Field Egg group, which is a really good egg group overall for breeding. Pokemon like Eevee, Pikachu, a lot of the starter Pokemon appear in the Field Egg group. But Ekans is also in the Dragon Egg group, which means Ekans and Gyarados can breed. Now, we can breed Shiny Gyarados and Shiny Ekans together to get a shiny female Ekans. So the reason that it is a 1 in 128 chance of being shiny, as opposed to the 1 in 64 chance that you read online, is because the shiny gene, I'm going to call it the shiny gene, or it's mostly the DVs, only pass to the opposite gender of the shiny parent. Most of you probably know this. The female parent is always the parent that produces the child. So because our Ekans is female, we will always get female Ekans. But because our Daddy Gyarados, is male, that means any male Ekans that hatch cannot be shiny. Only half the Pokemon we hatch, because Ekans is a 50-50 gender ratio, can be shiny, which is why the Ditto is 1 in 64, but without the Ditto, it is a 1 in 128, because it's twice as much, because half the time the Pokemon cannot be shiny. Only female Ekans in this instance can be shiny. We can just keep breeding shiny male Gyarados with non-shiny female Ekans to eventually get a shiny Ekans, or we can keep going. So we could wait for the shiny Ekans, but we don't actually need to get to Stantler. So even though we're breeding shiny male Gyarados with non-shiny female Ekans, the all-female Ekans coming from these two parents, Daddy Gyarados and Mama Ekans, will carry the shiny gene if it's female, like shown in the example. So we can then take the non-shiny Ekans that came from our parents. We have to go out and catch another male Ekans, and we can put those two in the daycare because we want to continue passing that shiny gene on so we can get to Stantler. Now, it's important to catch a new Ekans because if you take a male Ekans and a female Ekans from Daddy Gyarados and Mama Ekans, they will be incompatible. There's a way to tell this by putting two Pokemon into the daycare and then going out in the yard, the fenced-in area, and if you talk to them and if it says they're like beaming with energy or glowing with energy, that means they're incompatible. That means you won't be able to get a shiny from that. That's also how you can check if both those Pokemon have the shiny gene. If you get that beaming or gleaming or way too excited with energy message. So to not mix things up, we're going to just take the female Ekans that carries the shiny gene from Daddy Gyarados and Mama Ekans. We're going to put it into the daycare with a fresh caught Slytherin male Ekans. We're going to breed those two together for a male Ekans that will be carrying the shiny gene. Now remember, the shiny gene jumps from male to female in between. So because our female Ekans carried the shiny gene, she can only pass it on to her male offspring. So once we get that male offspring with the shiny gene, we put that into the daycare. We take the two other Ekans out. We put a fresh female Stantler in the daycare. Again, females are the ones that produce the child. Ekans is, in this situation, acting like our Papa Gyarados from the start. And then eventually, we have a 1 in 128 chance of getting shiny Stantler, female, without using a Ditto at all. I kind of answered number 2 and number 3, but we're still going to answer number 3. It's just going to be a little bit more complicated. We're going to take this to the next level. But before then, here's my reaction to shiny Stantler. I'm not clicking that jinx. Why is Todd the only person that calls you? I can tell you why. Because it is the only phone number I have accepted. To every other person that asked for my phone number, I said no. Also, you can go in and you can delete people's phone numbers. This is why Heart Gold Soul Silver is a bad game, chat. I'm going to tell you right now. You guys are going to think it's because the XP curve is bad. You guys are going to think it's because like Kanto has nothing going for it. Shiny Stantler! Wow! Who is here, chat? Look at that! Oh, let me tell you why Heart Gold Soul Silver is good. Because Shiny Stantler! Oh gosh, crystal breeding is awesome. Check that out. Oh my goodness. I forgot to put up a prediction. Oh my goodness. Well, maybe it's time to maybe we end stream on a high note. That's Stantler. I wasn't ready for this. I planned out stream that we were gonna do this the entire time. I wasn't ready. Okay, let's circle back here. Let's just say we replace Stantler with Miltank. We're gonna do the same thing. I guess this is going to be number 3. How do I do this? Well, I explained it, but let's explain it in another situation so you can use this knowledge to breed multiple different Pokemon. So we can take the Shiny Gyarados, Papa Shiny Gyarados, and we can take Mama non-Shiny Ekans, and we can just make a Shiny Ekans. That's really easy. We can just do the example that I did with the graphic that I provided of taking the Ekans, making an Ekans, catching a new Ekans, breeding those together, getting a Stantler, and then eventually getting a Shiny Stantler. If we just look at this graphic and we replace Stantler with Miltank, Miltank can only be female. And because female Miltank can only produce female Miltank, our shiny chance becomes 1 in 64 instead of 1 in 128. Why? Because we're not getting any male Miltank because that's impossible. And the nice thing about Ekans is it's in the field egg group. Nice thing about Miltank, it's in the field egg group. So we can look at the Stantler graphic. We can replace Stantler with Miltank. And now you have an easier shiny hunt to do. Although keep in mind, Stantler and Miltank have relatively same hatch cycles. You still might be waiting a long time to get and to hatch eggs. Speaking of that, let's add in a bonus question of how do you even get the eggs? Well, there's a couple things you can do to increase how to get eggs. Preferably having 2 different games helps. Having 2 Pokemon with different IDs in the daycare, you are more likely to get an egg, and you're more likely to get eggs if the Pokemon is the same species. That's why you might have been getting eggs quicker with 2 Ekans in the daycare, as opposed to an Ekans and a Stantler in the daycare. 2 Ekans together they just know how things work. As, you know, a Stantler and Ekans, it's a little confusing. Can take some time to, you know. You can take the Ekans with the shiny gene that you bred yourself, but you could then go to a different DS, catch the female Stantler there, then trade it over, and now you can increase the eggs a little bit faster. Ultimately, I'm going to explain how you get eggs. The daycare man decides after about 256 steps whether or not you get an egg. And it can be as basic as 50-50, a coin flip, right? You go up and down Goldenrod City, 256 steps. The game will flip a coin. If heads, old man comes out of the house saying you have an egg ready. If tails, old man stays in the house. And that is why it is possible that you can go 5, 10, 15 minutes without getting an egg because you're failing those coin flips. So by having the same Pokemon in the daycare, for example, Ekans and Ekans, instead of a 50% chance he comes out, it's closer to like a 70% chance. And if you have 2 Pokemon that maybe don't like each other, but are still compatible, like Stantler and Ekans, it might be closer to like a 30% chance of that old guy coming out of the daycare. Now, those are just rough numbers. I'm sure they're more rough out there, but all in all, I'm just saying that if you have 2 3DSs with Virtual Console Crystal, you can speed it up. If you don't have 2 DSs, I wouldn't really sweat it, because either way, it's pretty tedious. But you're not guaranteed an egg in Pokemon Crystal every X amount of steps is ultimately the takeaway here. Anyways, we have a 1 in 128 chance of getting Stantler with this graphic that I provided. If you want that to be 1 in 64, replace Stantler with Miltank, do the same exact thing, and then you have a shiny Miltank. The bad thing about Miltank as opposed to Stantler is you can't really do much with that shiny Miltank because Miltank can only produce female Pokemon, and female Pokemon can only produce more female Pokemon. So that's why Tauros is incompatible, because a Tauros and a Miltank will just produce Miltank. Stantler you can still use with other field egg group Pokemon. So we're gonna make this graph. We're gonna do one more example, a little bit more complex, and show you how to get more Pokemon. Let's start off with Papa Shiny Gyarados and Mama non-Shiny Ekans. We're going to start off with the same thing, and we're going to produce the female Ekans with the Shiny gene from the Shiny Gyarados right here. And we're going to go do our same thing. We are going to catch a male Ekans in the wild to make sure that it's not related to our fresh baby. We're going to put those two in the daycare. We're going to produce, just like we did with the Stantler or the Miltank, a male Ekans with the shiny gene, and we're going to go catch a female Snubbull. Now, female Snubbull will produce more Snubbull, and we can just stop here. We can use the male Ekans with the shiny gene with the female Snubbull to produce a shiny female Snubbull. Completely possible. I just showed you how to breed for a female Snubbull pretty easily. I would just as easy as Stantler or Miltank, but we're going to take that even further. We're going to move into a completely different egg group beyond Field, beyond Dragon, and now beyond Fairy that we just introduced into Grass. We went from Water 2 and Dragon to Field and Dragon to Field and Fairy to now Fairy and Grass. And this will let us even get closer to even breeding something like a Parasect, which I believe in Grass Bug. We have our female Fairy Snubbull that came from our Ekans and our Snubbull, which carries the shiny gene. We are going to have to now find another Snubbull in the wild, male, which is, I believe, Snubbull is 25% male, 75% female. So this might be a little tough. But again, we can't mix our Pokemon coming from our parents. Then we're going to breed until we get a male Snubbull carrying the shiny gene. And then we're going to put that into the daycare with the female Hoppip. And at the end of this, we will have a Pokemon in the Fairy and Grass egg group and a shiny female Hoppip. Because again, the male Snubbull is holding the shiny gene. The female Hoppip is producing Hoppip. So the shiny gene jumps from female Hoppip for a 1 in 128 chance of getting a shiny Hoppip. And there we go. I think that sums it up pretty well. I think the graphics probably make more sense than probably at some point in this video you saw this huge Microsoft notepad with a bunch of text, but I think this walkthrough makes the most sense. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments below. If this was helpful to you, feel free to like and subscribe to the video. I know 75% of the people who watch my content are not subscribed, so that would really help me out. And I believe it sums it up. To recap, should you shiny hunt in Pokemon Crystal? Probably not. Do you need a Shiny Ditto? You don't. There are ways to get Shiny Ditto that other videos show. I'm not one for glitches or manipulations myself. Some people are. I'm not. So I wanted a pretty thorough guide of how to breed in Crystal. That is kind of for dummies. I know I could have probably got more technical, but I think keeping it simple is probably best. And now you know how to get a shiny Ekans, a shiny Snubbull, a shiny Stantler, a shiny Miltank, and a shiny Hoppip. And I believe the guide is laid out well enough where you can replace those Pokemon with other Pokemon that you may want that you can shiny hunt in Pokemon Crystal. I hope you enjoy. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you next time.